We got a teaser for Mortal Kombat 2, and we finally get to see Karl Urban's Johnny Cage in action. However, some people on the internet are pretty disappointed with his casting, so we're gonna dive into what's going on there, and if this movie is gonna be any good at all, and I'm gonna do a rant on what actually ruined the last movie. So, all that and more in today's video. So as we stated before, we got a tease for the new Mortal Kombat movie, a la a fake trailer for Johnny Cage's Uncaged Fury franchise. The teaser does a pretty good job at replicating the cheesy 80s action flick style with one-liners and that deep voiceover guy. It's very obvious what this trailer is trying to do. It's trying to replicate that early 80s nostalgia where the games originally came out, and to be fair, it's actually a pretty good homage. And admittedly, using Johnny Cage as a central advertising point, especially Karl Urban fresh off his Billy Butcher run from The Boys, is a pretty smart move on the Mortal Kombat team's part. Although there is some weird reactions from people on Twitter, not really a surprise, calling this a bad casting, and that they should have gotten The Miz to do it. And to that I say, why? Apparently current WWE superstar The Miz made some statements that he was a big fan of the franchise and wanted to be cast as Johnny Cage. Of course, with the casting of Karl Urban, that didn't really happen, and for reasons that were pretty obvious. The Miz is indeed an actor, of course, with the WWE being more about putting on a show than actual wrestling. And don't come at me in the comments, I watched it religiously growing up. I just stopped watching it around, I want to say 2015. And I'm not really trying to say that he's a bad actor, but the guy really hasn't had much experience with films that haven't been direct to video or related to his WWE character in some form. He doesn't even have the excuse that WWE actors can't break into major Hollywood filmmaking, with John Cena, Batista, and Dwayne Johnson all having pretty successful careers and all being leading men in major studio productions. So yeah, it's not really a wonder why Karl Urban, very fresh off The Boys, along with being an established studio actor, got the part. It just makes way more sense from a marketing perspective. The sequel also has the previous director returning from the first movie, Simon McQuaid, and to be honest, these movies are his first run at major studio films. He previously worked on commercials before that, but the thing is that everyone starts from somewhere, and not every director in Hollywood gets lucky to work on their passion project first try. Some directors take on studio jobs and then break out on their own. Marvel Studios, for an example, is known for hiring on new and talented directors to helm their films before these directors take off and then have very successful careers of their own. So I'm saying that Simon McQuaid did an okay job, and to be completely fair, Simon's work for Xbox, PlayStation, Call of Duty, and Halo 3 collectively won him multiple awards, including the Film Grand Prix at Cannes. So he knows what he's doing behind the camera. The major issue that I had with the last movie was actually in the story. There is a new writer for this film in Jeremy Slater, who has had some mixed projects like Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, the 2017 Death Note Netflix movie, which I could do an entire 8-hour, maybe even an hour video about, and Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. So a mixed bag, but he co-wrote with other screenwriters on those films. He also did contribute to Umbrella Academy and 2 episodes of Moon Knight, and was picked by James Gunn to join the DCU writers' room. So it stepped up from the previous writers of the story, Oren Uziel and Greg Russo, who seem to have more misses than hits in their respective filmographies. But on the upside, Oren Uziel is also the showrunner on Spider Noir show for Amazon, and that looks pretty sick, so who knows, maybe he's found his groove. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I've referenced in past videos that I was not really happy with the way that the 2021 movie turned out. It had the edge of the early 2000s comic book movies where they were too afraid to jump into the weird stuff. So they didn't do the tournament right away. Instead, they went with this plot to have all the characters instead be hunted down by the bad guys in order for Outworld to win the tournament on a technicality. And don't even get me started on the stupid arcana system that they developed for the movie just to justify characters having special powers. Actually, you know what? I will get into that later. This teaser and the news for the upcoming movie gives me some kind of hope that they will at least follow the story of the games somewhat. At least with having different writer and the way that they handled this teaser, it looks like they understand what makes the game so popular and are probably gonna lean into more of those aspects. My main issue with the movie was that it created unnecessary systems to explain away the world. A lot of the characters, mainly Sonya, who they turned from a special forces officer that she was in the games to basically a conspiracy theorist who is also an officer who's upset that she never got her arcana, was really dumb. And speaking of the arcana system, it's the main thing that's central to the plot of the film that I found really is just so dumb. It's kind of an all-purpose explanation for how fighters get their powers. Instead of letting characters earn their abilities through training, tech, or just being born special, like in the games, the movie takes a shortcut and says everyone unlocks their powers through some mystical energy once they've chosen for the tournament. It's essentially Mortal Kombat's version of the X gene from X-Men, but with way less clarity. The problem is, Arcana doesn't make a lot of sense. Liu Kang gets a fire dragon, Kano gets a laser eye, and Jax, for some reason, uses his Arcana to upgrade his tiny robot arms. Is this mystical magic? Does the magic understand modern technology? Did it understand what he needed? That's what I don't understand. Is this genetic? Or it's some gods like looking over? I'm overthinking this, but you understand this is stupid. It just feels random, like the rules really don't matter, so as long as the visuals pop. And it's never really explained whether physical traits like Natara's wings or Goro's extra arms are part of Arcana or just how those characters already are. It's a system that raises more questions than it answers. The thing is, in movies, we've seen the general audience in modern day has enough of these fantastical kinds of movies, like comic book movies and the like, that no one really is gonna bat an eye if a character can shoot lasers from its eyes. You can explain it's some black market implant and people will go, oh cool, he's a laser eye character. That's it. You don't have to create a whole magical system to justify characters having superpowers. You're making a Mortal Kombat movie. This isn't the early 2000s. You guys can just say these characters have special powers. Deal with it. There are other issues that I have with the film, but the Arcana system is so blatantly my biggest issue and a huge part of the film that I get mad about it every time I think about it. Overall, I think that this teaser shows us that the crew is a little bit more confident in the material this time around than the first time. And with the backdrop of having the tournament be part of the plot of the movie, that will give them a chance to tell a more traditional Mortal Kombat story. If the games, the animated movies, and hell, even the first actual Mortal Kombat movie could do it, and do it somewhat well, then the sequel can probably get it done. Besides, the actor who plays Lewis Tan said he was contracted for 4 Mortal Kombat films, so it looks like that Warner Brothers really wants to turn this into a franchise. Hopefully not a cinematic universe, I think we're full on those, but that's all I have to say on this topic today. Thank you guys so much for watching our videos, we really appreciate it. And as always, leave us a mailbag question if you guys want it answered in a future video. And we'll see you guys next time.